Gaming controversies are usually predictable. A buggy launch, a greedy monetization system, maybe a developer lying in a trailer. But sometimes the gaming industry goes completely insane. We're talking about hidden sex minigames, billion-dollar disasters, developers getting kicked out of their own studios, and companies accidentally inventing the worst economic systems imaginable. And the strangest part, some of those stories are so ridiculous they sound like internet rumors. But they actually happen. My name is Astrid and today we're looking at some of the weirdest controversies in gaming ever. So let's start with one of the most infamous controversies in gaming history. When Grand Theft Auto San Andreas released, nobody expected it to become a political scandal. But then someone discovered something hidden deep in the game files. A fully playable sex minigame. It wasn't accessible during normal gameplay, but modders found it and unlocked it. The internet immediately named it hot coffee, and suddenly politicians, news channels, and moral watchdogs groups lost their minds. Apparently stealing cars, beating pedestrians, and running over people with motorcycles was completely fine. But badly animated polygon sex? That was where society drew the line. The controversy exploded so hard that the ESRB re-rated the game from mature to adults only, forcing stores to pull copies from shelves. Rockstar had to release a new version of the game with the content removed, all because of hidden minigame that most players would have never seen. Congratulations, video games! You started a national scandal over awkward polygons. Next we have the story that started as one of the most hyped games ever, and turned into one of the most infamous launches in gaming history. No Man's Sky promised players a new universe, an infinite galaxy where you could explore planets, discover creatures, meet other players, and basically live out every sci-fi fantasy unimaginable. The marketing was enormous, the expectations were astronomical. The problem? When the game launched, most of those promises simply weren't there. Players quickly realized that huge features shown in trailers were missing.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Multiplayer? Not really. Complex ecosystems? Not really. Dynamic space adventures? Also, not really. The internet exploded. For a while, No Man's Sky became the poster child for over-promising and under-delivering. But here's the strange twist. Over the years, the developers actually kept updating the game again and again and again, until eventually the game became good, which means No Man's Sky went from one of the worst launches ever to one of the greatest redemption arcs in gaming. Still, the original launch remains one of the weirdest disasters the industry has ever seen. Then came Cyberpunk 2077. And if I were electricity, this game could have powered up a small country. The studio behind it had an incredible reputation. The trailers look amazing, the marketing campaign lasted years. The internet basically crowned the future of RPGs before it even released. Then the game finally launched. And everything went wrong, especially on consoles. Players experienced crashes, glitches, disappearing NPCs, broken physics, and bugs so strange they look like something out of a horror movie. The situation became so bad that Sony actually removed the game from the PlayStation Store. That almost never happens. When a platform holder pulls your game from their store, it's the corporate equivalent of being kicked out of the building. Eventually, the developers fixed many of the problems, but the launch itself became one of the most chaotic moments in modern gaming. Proof that hype can be a dangerous thing. Some controversies happen inside a game, others behind the scenes. And the story of Disco Elysium might be one of the strangest studio conflicts ever. The game was widely prized as one of the greatest RPGs of all time. Brilliant writing, unique mechanics, a completely different approach to storytelling. But then things got weird. The original creators behind the game were suddenly forced out of the company that made it. Accusations started flying, claims of fraud, legal battles, corporate power struggles. At one point it almost felt like the story of the studio was becoming more dramatic than the game itself. Imagine creating one of the most celebrated RPGs in decades and getting fired from the company that made it. If this ever gets adapted into a movie, which I hope not, it might actually be more chaotic than the game does. Finally, we've had one of the most strangest design decisions in gaming history. When Diablo 3 launched, Blizzard introduced something unusual. A real money action house players could buy in selling game items for actual money. Which sounds interesting in theory, but in practice it completely broke the game. Instead of finding powerful loot through gameplay, the most efficient strategy became just buying it. The entire reward system collapsed, players hated it, critics hated it, and Blizzard eventually removed the system entirely. But turns out when your fantasy dungeon crawler starts feeling like a stock market, something has gone very wrong. Gaming controversies are strange. Sometimes they're about broken games, sometimes they're about corporate greed, and sometimes they're about hidden content, marketing disasters, or studio betrayals that sound like they came from a Netflix drama. But one thing is certain. The gaming industry might create incredible works, but behind the scenes, it can be just as chaotic as the game themselves. If you like this, please consider subscribe, like, and share with your friends. I'll see you next time.